Yeah, hey athletes, Tony Bevilacqua from Athletic After 40 coming at you today. And I want to talk about something that I think is really important, especially as we start getting older, and especially if we have a family, right? So I'm 45 years old, I'm married, I have a 12-year-old son, and one of the things that I know a lot of guys struggle with is when they're trying to make a change in their life. And let's just use nutrition as an example. So if I want to change my nutrition, one of the hardest things is, okay, well, my wife and my kids are not really, they're not really on board with this whole thing, or it's going to be really difficult for me to just change what I do and to not sort of be overbearing and pushy on them. And I think a lot of guys use this as an excuse because I hear it all the time. I'm like, what are some of the obstacles that you have moving forward? Well, my wife, or my kids, these are the things that I hear. And to me, as a coach, what I always want to do is I want to break through the excuses. I want to get to who is it that you really want to be, right? And then what are we going to do to chase that? We have to kind of like shed away and kind of dig through some of the excuses. So if you understand that could potentially be just an excuse, then how can we overcome this? And the answer is probably not what you think. It's probably not, well, you just have to sit down and talk with your wife and your kids and explain to them why it's important, for you, but also for them to change their life. Like, that's probably what you're expecting me to say. And although there is some truth to that, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But here's one thing that I know from years of experience with myself and with working with other people who've been successful on this endeavor of, changing their habits. And again, using nutrition as an example, you can never force change upon somebody who's not ready to change, right? So you can never, if your wife's never, how good does it work for you to go to your wife and be like, you know what, I think you need to change your nutrition. Even if you go in with the nicest, most sincere sort of approach, right? I think maybe it's a good idea if you change your nutrition, and maybe we get the kids to start eating a little bit better too. Like, how's that going to go for you? Probably not so good, right? Like, defensive. There's going to be resistance, right? It's just not the right approach. So if you know that you need to make a change, and you're ready, willing to do that, and you have that conversation, and you get the resistance, that might derail you, right? That might totally derail you. Like, wow, if she doesn't want to do it, I'm not going to do it either. It's just not worth it, right? It's kind of frustrating. It creates tension in yourself, right? Like you just want to forget about it. So what's maybe a better approach? So here's what I found that works really, really well. Instead of trying to push your thoughts on others, you need to lead from the front. You need to just do you. Leaders go first. If you're not willing to do it, even if it's hard, even if it means you've got to cook your own food, even if it means you got to buy different groceries, even if it's going to take you more time, even if it's going to stress you out a little bit, if you're not willing to do it, if you're not willing to go first, don't expect anybody else to follow. I believe that as a guy over the age of 40, it's time to step up. It's time to be a leader. It's no longer trying to push others into doing what you want them to do. It's you going first. It's you leading from the front. That's all you can do. And if they decide not to follow, that's on them. It's not on you. But if you lead yourself, if you go first, the chances of them following, the chances of your family becoming healthier is much, much higher. Wouldn't you agree? If you go first, if you lead from the front, if you show them what's possible, if you change your habits and you change the way you look and your health gets better and you feel better and you perform better, do you think your wife's going to want to maybe change her habits if they're not so good? You think your kids are going to be like, maybe dad's onto something here, right? It's very different when you're leading from the front as opposed to just being overbearing. Right? And I know this from experience because I still find myself trying to push them sometimes. Like I try to have to kind of check myself and be like, okay, look, I got to lead from the front. And I will influence them by leading. But that's the key. Leaders go first. So go first. Be bold, be brave, be courageous in yourself. And maybe you're here because your wife is leading the charge. I've heard that before. My wife is in great shape. She takes care of herself. She looks amazing. I need to follow her lead. And that's great too. Like, that's great. Now is the chance for you to start leading yourself. And you've been influenced by her. And you're probably here not because she's been overbearing, but because you see it. And you like it. And you're attracted to that. And you know that you need to start stepping up to the plate. Right? So, there's my little rant for today. It's time to start leading yourself. Lead from the front. If you're a guy over the age of 40, there's no more excuses. If you're not in the place that you want to be in your life, in the way that you look, the way that you feel, the way that you perform, in your health, which I would argue is your number one most valuable asset, if you're not taking care of yourself there, don't wait for somebody to come and save you, because nobody's going to save you. I'm a coach. I'm not a savior. Some people think I'm going to save them. You know, the paratroopers are not coming in. They're not coming for you. The only person that can save yourself is you. And when you start taking responsibility, you start taking action, you're going to lead from the front. All right. Hope this finds you well. And look, if you need my help, hit me up on Messenger. Just send me a message. Just tell me how you're doing. Tell me where you're at. I'd be interested to know. All right. Have a great day.